Could you sort of like briefly give an overview of your thoughts or your studies on Atlantis?
Well, very briefly, I've read 4 or 5 different translations of Plato, and I've actually procured the original Greek, so I've been able to go in and laboriously translate the various words used. And I mean, it's clear, right at the outset, this power came forth from the Atlantic Ocean, outside the Pillars of Heracles. The Pillars of Heracles is what we call the Straits of Gibraltar. It describes that when you pass from the Straits of Gibraltar into the Atlantic Ocean, you encounter some islands, and then you would have encountered Atlantis, and then beyond that was the great continent. So in other words, when you look at the geography, and there is like the Spartel Bank, there's a sunken island right there at the mouth that would have actually been an island that sailors could have stopped at. And then there's Madeira, possibly even other islands. That's my problem, is that Plato very clearly, to me, puts it in the Atlantic Ocean. And also very clearly describes that it sank within the ocean. So what I have done is shown throughout hours of video that there is solid evidence for post-glacial subsidence of particularly along the mid-Atlantic ridge. So all the things that Jimmy is describing there, I could show essentially the same configuration to the sunken Azores Plateau, as it's called.
Okay. Open
to the south, mountains to the north. And that's what I do in this series that I did, because I was not really familiar with the theory that the Eye of Africa was considered to be Atlantis. When I did those, I may have heard it, I had heard of it, but hadn't looked into it. So then so many people were asking about it that I did a follow-up specifically focusing on the Rishat structure. And I basically go into the studies. See, I accumulated a number of studies on it in probably the early 90s, when it was still being considered an impact crater. And so when I was thoroughly researching impact craters, that's when I first learned about it. And it looked to me like a multi-ringed impact structure, just like we were talking about earlier, right? Well, it later, ground-penetrating radar and analysis of the rocks and stuff showed that it was a deep-rooted volcanic feature. So it's natural. It is not human-made. It's natural. And I think all the geologists that have looked at that would concur that it's natural. So the fact that it's 1,400 feet above sea level to me is problematic, because the whole thing about Atlantis is that it sank beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. So yes, there's some amazing coincidences there, as Jamie points out. But again, I'm going to come down on the side of if there's any reality to this thing.
Right.
My reading is, and see, people go, oh, well, Randall says Atlantis was the Azores. No, Randall doesn't say that. What Randall does say, that if you look at the 15 or 20 different locations around the world that have been proffered as being, oh, well, this is Atlantis or this is Atlantis, I think the one that fits the details of Plato's accounts almost to a T is really the Azores. And the Azores are mountain peaks, right? And those mountain peaks have their roots on it's called a microcontinent. It's about the size of Iceland, but it's sunk. And how do we know it's sunk? Well, there's numerous studies, and I get into all of that in that 10 hours or 12 hours that I've done to make the case that if there is a reality to Atlantis, and we look at all of the candidates for where Atlantis was, I think the one that comes down over and over again as being the most plausible would be the Azores. And so, but yeah, in the few minutes here that we're discussing it here, it would be, again, like I said, I did 10 or 12 hours.
Right. Is there any sort of graph or any sort of like aerial image we could just look at the area of the Azores that you're referring to?
Yeah, I would have to open it.
Okay. Can we do that, or do we have that?
I did not give that to Austin.
Oh, okay.
I haven't here.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge here.
Yes, we are. And if you look over, I'm wanting to sit here with my.
Oh, you think you're controlling it?
Yeah. Okay, so you see Spain over there in North Africa? Yeah. Okay, come down over to the land, up north, and then east. Right in there between Spain and Morocco is the Straits of Gibraltar, also known as in ancient times as the Pillars of Heracles. So that is where, let me see, I'm going to put my glasses back on.
Got a clusterfuck over here.
Yeah, okay. So now if you go, if you you'll see two little green spots. Yeah, right where your cursor is. Now start slowly moving to the west. Right there you see remnants of former islands. Keep going. And there's your microcontinent, the Azores Plateau, right there. And then if you keep going, then you get to, of course, North America. And let's see here if I can go back to Plato's. So this is quoting directly now from Plato, from Timaeus. Then listened Socrates to a strange tale, which is, however, certainly true. This is the Benjamin Jowett translation.
Okay.
Right
Are you on a specific slide here?
I'm on slide 43, but
43, okay.
I would narrate it if you could keep looking at this slide.
Okay.
As Solon, who was the wisest of the seven sages, declared, he was a relative and great friend of my grandfather, Dropidas, as he himself says, or maybe Dropidas, as he himself says in many of his poems. And Dropidas told Critias, my grandfather, who remembered and told us. So he was giving us the lineage that goes back to the original tale. Let's see, we'll jump on ahead. So then jumping on ahead, we've got the forum there, and Socrates is there, and Timaeus is there, and Critias is there, and several others. Socrates says, very good, he's speaking to Critias, very good. And what is this ancient famous action of which Critias spoke, not as mere legend, but as a veritable action? Again, veritable meaning true, which Solon recounted. So again, another reference to that this tale that Solon brought out of Egypt is a true tale.